Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to F1 Manager. This is episode 15. We've reached the summer break. Our next race, Spa, the Belgian Grand Prix, is 25 days away. We have a 3 week break here. Now, in real life, there's a mandatory portion to that break. I don't know if it's all 3 weeks. It might be 2 of the 3 weeks. Uh, Not sure on that one, but there is a mandatory break where you're not allowed to do anything. They take, you know, short summer rest. It's their spring break, summer break, uh, equivalent school. Anyway, it doesn't look like I'm required to take time off. So there's still development time. There's still uh, the ability to improve our facilities while we're at it. And so we are going to take the next step in the design center. Downside on this one is it's really kind of a lateral one for me. There's no new engineers. The project capacity goes +1, but I don't want to do 3 projects at a time. I'm at a stage where 2 projects at a time is perfect. But you know what? Maybe 3 is the way to go because the engineers, as you spread them out, when you stack them up, they only save you a small amount of time. When you spread them out, you can get a lot more done. You can do more projects simultaneously. Each project takes a little bit longer, but you can complete multiple projects at the same time, ultimately being faster. So it's not a bad thing to get a capacity of 3 projects at the same time. But I can tell you right now, our key going forward is this facilities management, this area. The design center in particular, so that we can do a lot of upgrades, so we can get a lot of people on tasks, but then how effective we are at them, the wind tunnel, the simulators, the test center, all of that needs to be done. Factory, a little less important, as that's just manufacturing parts, so we will be focusing on these others, but we need to get this design center up and running smoothly so we can do a lot of research. And then quality of research is going to come from these others. And with one more point towards cornering, Alex Albon has finally leveled up. He's now an 81 overall. I may or may not still give another shot at trying to re-sign him, but it's got to be to stay in car 2. We're not getting rid of Porsche to put him in car 1. That's silly. That makes no sense. I don't think they care necessarily which car they're in, but we'll see. I have no idea if that's actually a factor, but trying to sign him into car 1 when Porsche was there to break Porsche's contract, that didn't go so well. You see overall pace average is now 79 for Albon, so bringing that up will really help get the most out of the car on a regular basis. Other things like consistency obviously matter, and the racecraft obviously matter, but the pace is the most important. Underfloor design is complete. This is another one for this year, so it's the 3rd design for this year, technically our 2nd upgrade that we've had. The underfloor design being done, now we're moving on to the next right away. And like I said, I've got one team working on this year's car. I'm going to have one team working on researching next year's car. This is the team for this year's car, as the underfloor was here and now. So the next project for this year is a new rear wing. And what we're getting out of this one is a project that's going to take 50 days. It's not going to be done super fast here, but that's partially because we're putting extra into it. Drag reduction, gaining a whole 10%. Low speed downforce, seeing a fairly solid upgrade. 0.2, what is it, kilonewtons? I think that's what the KN is, what they're referring to there. Not something we usually use as a measurement tool in the US, but there it is for that one. It translates to G's over on the other side. And that one we're far more familiar with. But anyway, little upgrade to medium speed, push into 6 anyway, and small upgrade to the high speed, but especially the airflow sensitivity and the DRS deltas. So that rear wing is mostly about speed, which speed has been a real issue for us. So this is going to increase that top speed by 0.2 kilometers per hour. And the acceleration by a little bit, and then you'll see, moderate gains in other places. This is definitely not what the underfloor provides. The underfloor really does have the biggest bang for your buck and is a great way to get started. but it's not the only part on the car. So we will get a rear wing going here and take what we have with that underfloor for now. This is also comparing the car as it is right now and not with the new underfloor. So we don't know just how good that's going to make us. But this alone, even with the current iteration of the car, would see us gain at least a spot on the grid at every single one of these categories. So that's good. Race Simulator has been upgraded. It was the final design for that category, and our weekly experience gain is 100%, which means double. It's times 2 what it would have been otherwise, with an extra 100% on top. So that is obviously significant, as our guys are going to level up twice as fast. And as we're getting some young drivers that we hope to develop, that's an obviously good thing to have. So with Spa coming up, here's a look at the track and the situation we're facing. There's a number of straight sections with obviously a double length, really long one. And even the kind of the backstretch, it's got a third, fourth decent straight with the pit line. There's a number of straight sections. Our top speed's not good, so top speed's going to be an issue. However, in terms of cornering, there's 0 medium speed corners. It's all fast. It's almost all fast anyway. All those green sections, that's all fast sections, all fast corners. And that's our strength. And then there's 2 slow corners. That's not our strength. But those 2 don't hurt as bad pace-wise. The way they're set up. Getting through Eau Rouge as a fast section, which is a stronger part for us, will help with the pace on the lengthy straight. So I don't know how we're going to do, but I don't think it's going to be too bad. General pace, though, is lacking. You can see the high-speed cornering is the most important, and for that, we'll be okay. And here's our new underfloor comparison, old to new. Top speed, 1/4 of a kilometer an hour. Not a lot, but it does come with a little acceleration. And a definite upgrade to the high-speed cornering, to the medium-speed cornering. Actually, even the low-speed cornering has a decent amount of force that you can handle. That's good. Overall top speed, seeing DRS-wise, seeing a pretty good increase as well. You can see the dirty air cornering, the percentage going up quite a bit there. Overall, that's good. But how does it compare to the other cars? All right, so this one's in reverse. It's hard to really kind of get it to demonstrate the way you want it to. But anyway, car 1 is on the right, car 2 is on the left. And for car 2, you could see that all we are is ahead of car 1 in most categories. But we are making some gains, obviously. But there's one key area that I noticed we're actually moving ahead of somebody, not just making our car better than it was, but still ultimately in the same position on the grid that it was after the previous upgrade. Where we're moving ahead is dirty air cornering. So we're moving up 2 spots. We're passing one team in dirty air cornering. It looks like high speed already has us again, ahead of one team, so we're good there. Medium speed, high speed, cornering ahead of one team already. It's the Aston Martin. But we're getting a little closer to not just being ahead of the Aston Martin in like one category, but now it's 4. Something. It's something, but it's hard. It's hard without making a lot of upgrades. That'll be for next year. This year, I feel like maybe I've hurt myself a little bit by not going all in on this, but the quality of upgrade is going to be one of those big things, and the money's going to flow so much better with everything we did that we're going to be able to make those really expensive upgrades in the facilities that is going to improve the quality. Because right now we get very marginal gains, even though we're well behind everybody else. We do a big upgrade, we put a ton of time and effort into it, and it's actually really only marginal gains. So the game we're playing right now is getting out of the marginal gains category into more significant gains. Now, F1 is a sport of millimeters in terms of finding marginal gains, getting minimal gains. But when you're at the very back, there is more room for improvement. But our problem is those facilities and our staff are both weak to the point that it minimizes how rapidly we can catch up on everyone. Even though we get more tunnel time, more research time, we're just not as effective at doing those things. So we need to build the effectiveness more than just hammering out parts. Because you can see we hammer out a couple parts, it's not really pushing us up the grid much. Here's how we stack up against Aston Martin right now, today, with the new underfloor on. You could see that the speed difference, we just cut it in half. They were half a kilometer an hour faster. Now it's only a quarter. The acceleration, also, I think we just cut that in half, roughly from where we were. So they still have a slight speed advantage, but it's very slight now. Low speed cornering is still a strength for them compared to us. They're a full tenth ahead of us in terms of Gs. But we now have a marginal advantage in medium and a significant advantage in high speed. Well, comparing the two, right? It's just over a tenth where they have just under a tenth at low speed. So overall, we're ahead in 2 out of 3, and low speed corners don't appear quite as frequently, which I think is one of the reasons why already we were starting to beat the Aston Martins a little more easily than before, except for tracks that just absolutely don't suit us. That speed issue, still a thing, but our acceleration DRS wise is almost even now. Almost even. And even the top speed DRS is getting close. And the new rear wing could make a difference on that one, bring us in a lot closer. Dirty air cornering, they have a big advantage in low speed, but we again have that medium and high speed advantage, and it's a fair bit better. Brake cooling, we're a ways behind it, and engine cooling just behind. Here's a direct comparison of the underfloor of the two cars, and you can see how with 2 upgrades we now find ourselves in a much better position than the Aston Martin. You could see where this is, giving us a lot of our advantage at this stage.
Willkommen, bienvenue, and welcome to Spa-Francorchamps. This circuit was built in 1921, and even though its length was halved in 1979, the Belgian Grand Prix is still one of the longest, fastest, and most magical races on the F1 calendar. Spa-Francorchamps is famous for its long straights and fast corners. Drag efficiency will make all the difference here as drivers zoom through the famous sequence of Eau Rouge leading up into Raidillon. But a twisty middle sector keeps things tricky down on the track. We're about halfway through the season now, and there's still plenty of time for everything to change. All eyes are on the teams and how they tackle the rest of the year. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Formula One.
Light rain expected on Saturday, but we've got to get through Friday first. We've got to get our new part out there on track, get used to it, get acclimatized to the track itself. I would wait until about Saturday to really start seeing where we compare to the other teams. Are we making gains? Does this track suit us as it looks like it kind of does? It's definitely a mixed bag, right? Pace isn't exactly there, but compared to the Aston Martin, we're just behind them on pace. Yeah, I think we might at least comfortably beat the Aston Martins this week, but are we able to race with anybody else yet? Have we closed that gap? Oh, huge crash there. I think that's turn 1 coming up on... no, it's coming out of the chicane. Coming up... No, that was definitely turn 1. Where they're shown on the mini-map is not quite where they're at. I think they're already going back to the box or something. But Haas car getting into the back of Hamilton, which then drives him into the back of the one of the Red Bulls. Hamilton out after that as he gets sandwiched there. That was pretty rough. And we just missed out on that. We had only just gone around the corner ahead of it. So it was Magnussen who got into the back of Hamilton, and it was Verstappen just ahead of him. So those three all out, and they're going to miss most of
Oh, and that's a crash.
Q1. But
Let's
Pourchaire
have a
has
look.
also
Now
crashed
we see the
here in
Williams
his first session. So we're seeing a lot of crashes early on in this one.
That's
That
an
is,
off, and a big off.
ouch. That is a big off. Totally missed the breaking point for the chicane, and yeah, Pourchaire. At least he's not out. FP2, Pourchaire is now on a very lengthy run on the hard compound because we've already got his setup down. We've got him to 97% here in FP2 already. We don't need to really mess with it to try to get any more because we've already got the full bonus that you're going to get. Crashes continue to be a major feature here as Russell just had another crash, and we are a good half second ahead of the Aston Martins. So we do have more pace than before. However, the problem is we are 0.8 of a second off of the midfield. So we're still well off the back compared to everybody else. And it looks like I really don't think we're going to be in a very strong position at any stage this season at the rate that we do upgrades. The current tactic of not hammering those out one after another as fast as possible, focusing on the infrastructure this year so that we can develop the car more rapidly next year. So this year, with that slow development, it looks like we're pulling away from the Aston Martin and we might make up ground on others. I just don't think we're going to be fast enough to necessarily compete with others this year. Reading through fine details, I've discovered that the main reason why setup is quite challenging, at least with the Williams, is that we have weak staff in support of that. They make it more difficult for us. The better the staff is, the faster, the easier it is to get that 100% confidence. And here, with Pourchaire, we nailed it quickly and easily. Albon has been a real struggle for this race weekend. We had 88, we went up to 90. It went back down, and then it went only back up to 87. And even though we've got this thing fairly locked down, we still don't have what we need. And unfortunately, we're also in a scenario of, do we revert to the 90% or do we try to lock in the highest? Because, well, there's only 8 minutes left in the session, so we won't actually know what we've done until we really get into the race. But I think things are so on point now that realistically we could make a move in the right direction and trust. We have optimal here, and we don't need to change these. If we can just flip this to the other side, flip that to the other side, I think we should be in the high 90s and be good to go. So all we need to do is fix the stability and cornering, and that should do it. We just won't really know what that performance bonus is. It'll be a guess. First lap out, and Vettel pulls right in front of Pourchaire. Does he give us a tow? Hopefully he does, and hopefully he didn't impact Pourchaire's time on that lap. But we're also coming up pretty quickly on Tsunoda and Guan Yu Zhou. I don't know if they'll quite get out of the way of Albon, but it looks like Zhou will, and Tsunoda does as well. So our lap is unimpeded, except for maybe Pourchaire. Pourchaire's definitely was 0.8 of a second down on Albon. I think he lost nearly a second out of that one. So very, very unfortunate there that Vettel completely got in our way. Vettel now coming up on traffic. Let's hope that Pourchaire is able to hold him up as well, completely nullifying his lap. Albon ahead of Tsunoda at the moment. I don't know if Tsunoda got a clean run in or not, but that's good. Good enough to be ahead of Tsunoda. Vettel behind Pourchaire, so he loses a similar amount of time. Risky business for Pourchaire, but because our first lap was so compromised, we are going to try again. This is the longest lap time that you're going to see in a Formula One track, so you really don't have solid 3-lap opportunity here, but we're going to try. Because otherwise Pourchaire's missing out completely. Vettel and Stroll both behind Pourchaire's time. Stroll quite a bit further back. actually. Albin's time looking pretty competitive right now. Just behind Bottas and Russell. Russell probably lost time on his because Ricardo, Magnussen. I think Albin just put in a really, really good time is all. Pourchaire coming up on the end of his flying lap right now on the bubble in P15. Does he improve his time? It looks like a big no. So he's going to head back and have to put on a fresh set of tires and try again. Hopefully he does not run out of time. It looks like he will get back, hopefully in time anyway. Okay, we got Pourchaire back in time, both of them on a fresh set of tires, ready to go. There's the Aston Martins ahead of us. There's the last Ferrari. Here's the Alphas just now coming out. I think it's good to go. Pourchaire. Okay, and then a few more seconds, and Albin. And yes, we are, I think, the last ones on grid here, and hopefully we've made it in time. 2.5 minutes. We should be okay. There might be one more Haas. No, both Haas's are just ahead of us. Pourchaire maybe just a little close for my liking. Lap underway. Albin far enough back that at best he's getting a little bit of a toe down the straight. At worst he's getting zero dirty air. Pourchaire might be in between where he's getting a little dirty air, but drivers are starting to move up the grid. So Pourchaire right now is 17th. 5 drivers, if I didn't mention this already, 5 drivers have penalties. So we are looking at moving up the grid here as we are bumped out of the safe spots for now. Both drivers in trouble, but we're the last ones to cross the line, so let's see what we can do here. We're Pourchaire ahead of both Aston Martins, and Albin coming to the line next. Only improves by 1/10 of a second. So Pourchaire 17, Albin 18. And you can see there's that clear difference. Half a second better than the Aston Martins, but behind everybody else. But we're so used to being like 18th and 20th, beating Stroll only, that feels good to not only beat both of them, but beat them by a wide margin. And we were closer to the tail end of those ahead of us than those two were to us. So at least at Spa, the underfloor is definitely proving to save a few more tenths of a second, because we were only really neck and neck or just ahead of those two, and now we're a good half a second better than that, 4/10 of a second. So 3 to 4, maybe 5/10 of a second improved with the new underfloor. That's significant. If we're almost able to hang with other teams in the race, imagine what we could do with 3 to 4 more tenths.
Drivers are strapping themselves in, ready for race day.
Qualifying went well for Williams, as attested by their strong position on the grid. Now it's all about finding that edge for the race itself. Haas gave a solid performance in qualifying, and they'll be happy enough with their grid position here. Let's see if they can make it work for them. And the race will be taking place under blue skies. That means the teams should be able to apply their strategies without any added complications.
Well, this may well be another Belgian Grand Prix for the ages. So stick around and find out how it all ends.
One thing I thought about before we get into the race itself here is that while we have gained, half a second over Aston Martin, and we went from maybe 1/10 better to maybe 5/10 better, which means we're 4/10 faster. Take a step back. I remember that we're at Spa-Francorchamps. We're in Belgium. We're at the longest lap on the circuit. So longest lap translates to more. Our gap to the front of the field is bigger than it's been at other tracks because the lap is longer. So that 4/10 is stretched, it's embellished. It's probably not 4/10. Somewhere else, we're probably looking at something more like 2/10 of a second better than what we were. But hey, 2/10 of a second every lap is going to make a difference. If we've been almost hanging with a whole lot of cars race weekend after race weekend after race weekend, except for at the tracks that really don't suit us. 0.2 of a second per lap is that much easier to A, hang with those same cars, and B, potentially beat them head to head. It is better, but I don't think we're actually 0.4 better. I think that's just Spa specific. 3 optional strategies for this race, all starting on the soft for both drivers. Right now I have both drivers on the same strategy of pushing hard and then going to the hards till the end in the one stopper. However, I have 2 similar strategies. A one stopper where we're able to go a little bit longer on that first stint and then go to the mediums, but to get the mediums to the end, you can't push quite as hard. So I like our chances of getting a fairly good result here for 2 reasons. One, that aggressive and the ability to get through those fast corners relatively quickly. And 2, with 5 cars having grid penalties, we've moved up the order even further on the starting grid. We're up at P13, P14. Now, I don't know if that's going to get us into the points, but I'm hoping for a chance at points today. I just don't know if we're quite there. If we're slightly outside, that's fine.
We have beautiful blue skies overhead as the drivers line up on the grid. Here's Williams. They're in the back half of the pack, so they'll need to work hard if they want a podium finish. And then we've got Alex Albon. With their starting position in the back 10, they'll have their work cut out for them. And we're just moments away now. You can hear the excitement in the crowd here at the Belgian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
I think it would be a nice touch if they added a glimpse of the formation lap, but that's okay. We'll take this. So far, we are now 13th, 14th as Albon gets back ahead of Magnussen. Magnussen only 1 spot behind us with those grid drops. Not much of a grid drop for him. Leclerc, Alonso at the back. And Bottas. For Bottas, that's one we might hope to stay ahead of. As Albon down to P16 already. Vettel's ahead of him as well. Let's hope he can get that back here. Pourchaire right behind Ricardo. Let's hope Pourchaire can battle with him today. That's one of those potentials. In fact, Ricardo, Schumacher, Tsunoda, positionally, I think that's our path to points if there is some sort of path today. But Albon, definitely not off to a good start as he's a couple spots down and quite a bit behind his teammate when they started. We've got to the inside of Vettel. It's going to be outside here as we continue forward. Can he complete the move? And he is ahead of him for the moment. Around 2 outside corners, and he completes the move, so that's good. Already moderately overheating, though, so we are going to need to get down to that aggressive before we make a mess of things and go backwards instead of forwards. Oh, no. Driver ran wide. Was that us? Was that us? It was. Where? Pourchaire's P20.
Here's the replay.
What the heck?
Now
I didn't even see him. We switched to Albon for a split second. Wow, Pourchaire, huge mistake there. Boy, that just... Albon's poor start, and Pourchaire's running wide here on lap 1. I can already say I think we can rule out points today. Now it's just going to be a battle to be in the top 15. Pourchaire, and hope we can get back within range. 5 seconds behind Bottas. So from P13 all the way down to last place by a sizable margin, and you can see the entire grid in DRS range, though DRS not open yet. It's only a 44 lap race. That's a huge gap behind a car that's clearly going to be faster than us. We're going to be chasing Stroll, I think, for a while yet before we're going to get back within range. You know, half a second a lap is all we're gaining. Leclerc past Albon. No surprise on that one. Ferrari much, much faster. Meanwhile, at the front, Sainz leads from Verstappen, from Russell, Perez, and Hamilton. And then, of course, the only front 6 out of the order is Leclerc, as DRS is going to become active once we cross the start-finish line. Okay, Vettel is too far back, so this is good for Albon. That's going to open up a gap to that back group that could leave out Alonso and Bottas potentially and strengthen Albon's position. seconds. We're definitely within DRS range. You can see how Leclerc has pulled away, but he's got that straight line advantage, but we'll get DRS. And Vettel does not. So you can see as we continue to push, Albon is quicker than Ricciardo at this stage, or about the same pace as Ricciardo's managing. We lost it through Eau Rouge, but by Raidillon, we're okay. We're okay. Just enough there. I mean, this is Albon's race. Meanwhile, Pourchaire, how's he looking? He's back within 2 seconds of Stroll now. He's got to keep pushing on. He has to close that gap. And then we can back off with Pourchaire as he slowly makes his way through those 4 guys. Lap 5 now, and Albon easily within DRS range this time, and that's good. And Pourchaire has closed up within DRS range, it looks like. So he has made his way back in just 4 laps. He covered that 4 seconds. Now, of course, Bottas had passed Stroll, Alonso had passed Stroll, and it's Vettel that's holding that train up, and that train 3.5 seconds behind. But you can see as we go down the straight, even with the DRS, Albon still significantly slower, and then he spends the rest of the lap trying to close that gap back up. We can't keep the fuel going like this forever, as we're already 2.5 laps down on fuel. We are going to have to ease off at some point, but I do think we're going to lose the DRS train as soon as that happens. So I might be willing to go quite a few laps deep and make up for it later in the race, especially if it means a huge gap behind us. And that is Magnussen to the inside of Ricciardo, and Leclerc goes through as well. So double overtake there, and we are quite close to Ricciardo. We've got a chance of catching him here as we go to the inside down the straight. This is going to set us up nicely for the corner to come, but we tuck back in before the corner, so no overtake here. Pace advantage of the McLaren, quite evident on that one. Both of us had DRS, and we had the momentum, we had the tow. We get up beside him, but then side by side, without that extra pull, he quickly pulls back away from us. But the gap is 5 seconds to Alonso now, or approaching 5 seconds, who has passed Vettel. That is going to pull that group along a bit faster than before, and hopefully Pourchaire naturally can make his way past the Aston Martins, as Bottas has. That might open the gap to Vettel and Stroll. I'd be okay if that happens, but I'd really like Pourchaire to get past those guys, so we might kind of tune into what's going on here and see if he can't make his way past. And we're ahead. It's Vettel. Vettel with the lockup. That's going to already open that gap. That just opened that gap. It's 2 seconds to Stroll.
We look at reducing
2 seconds to Stroll, so... That's really good. But Magnussen now out of DRS range of Leclerc. That's not good. Leclerc has pulled away. Sainz and Verstappen have pulled a good gap over Russell, Perez, and Hamilton, along with Gasly and Guan Yu Zhou, who don't have that big of a gap over Ocon, Norris, and then another small gap to Schumacher, Tsunoda, Leclerc, almost DRS range on those guys. He's got the fastest lap of the race so far. And then I think that fastest lap is what pushed him out of DRS range for Magnussen. And then, of course, Ricciardo and Albon. Albon just hanging on to these two. Bottas and Alonso have pulled away a bit, and actually they're closing up pretty quickly. That was my hope, that we could stay away from those guys and potentially, finish ahead of them P15, or if we get some luck, P14, P13. But at this stage, those two are coming, and they are faster. Bottas is definitely faster than Magnussen, so you can already see them in the rear view there. Verstappen has gone around Sainz to take the race lead. Those two pulling further and further away. Looks like we're going to have a 2-horse race in this one. Turn 1, you got the Red Bull going to the inside, and then under braking, those two get all tight, and Hamilton ends up going wide to avoid Russell and Perez, and Hamilton goes into the wall on that one, or at least that's what it appeared to be. Now, being that that was turn 1, and as long as this circuit is, Hamilton's going to lose a ton of time. He's already down to P17, and the gap is growing as he's making his way around Stroll. Stroll is a further 8 seconds back, it looks like. So, yeah, really big gap to Stroll, Porsche, Vettel. Hamilton's going to go straight to the back of the grid for this one. It's going to be a long time before he sees, you know, these three again by the time he makes his way around the track and then pits. But that gap with Stroll is growing very, very quick as he's well off pace. So that's going to rule... Sorry, I hit the mic there. That's going to rule out 3 guys for quite a while. It's probably going to rule out Hamilton from much contention, so that's 4. But Bottas and Alonso have already closed right up on Albon, and Albon has lost the toe of those ahead. So we are going to back off now, finally, though somehow the fuel is doing okay, even though we've been pushing. But we'll save up a little fuel for a while. If one of them can get past me, then we'll go back in and push on once again. We are also just a few laps away from entering our pit window. He didn't pit? Wow. He's got less than half a wing and he didn't pit. That's shocking. That is shocking that he's going to go around again. He lost 3 more seconds once he got going again over the course of that lap. I mean, it's not a ton of time, but 3 seconds a lap is a lot. I would absolutely pit and put on the hards. But if he waits 2 laps, he loses 6 seconds and has a 1-stopper. He pits now. Porsche finally got around Stroll, by the way. But I like Albon's pace. Really has not been too bad. It's not been too bad. It's been pretty okay. He's still got 50% tire wear. He might be able to go a little further yet. Let's go ahead and speed things up for a little while. Porsche. We get to the inside and we complete the overtake. Now the big thing is, can we drive away?
What you doing?
Can we drive away? Put it on defend. I wanted to put it on deploy because we are going to be faster. So let's just go deploy. See if we can't drive away from him. That gap opens. It's over a second. We are going to finish until we get to the DRS zone, though. We're going to continue to push on for that a little bit longer. We will lift 1.3. We'll go back to neutral first.
Okay, back
We'll
off.
keep the fuel going. And the first round of pits are in. Those on the softs, like ourselves, are pitting now. They're pitting really early this lap, but here comes a McLaren to give Stroll DRS as well, unfortunately, but we've definitely driven away from Stroll, so and the McLaren should easily get away from him as well. Can we pass Hamilton with half a wing? With half a wing, we easily get by him. I can't believe he has not pit yet. It's insane.
That's great job, great job.
Okay, Porsche is going to continue to push on. P10 for Albon at the moment, and P15, and we are right behind Russell, who just pit. Perez also behind us now, Gasly behind us, Guan Yu Zhou, so that entire group has pit already. Even though we're pushing on the softs, they have somehow also put themselves in that scenario. I think we are probably right in our pit window for Albon. What about Porsche, who's in P15 at the moment? Porsche, they're both on 41%. I do not want to risk double stacking. There's enough of a gap, I think. So we could double stack if we needed to. Thinking about strategy, we're on the optimal lap. I'm thinking it's probably about time that we do make that stop. It's lap 15 of 44. We've got the 15 laps. We've been able to push really hard. We're in a fairly good position. Albon, especially without the mistake, has done well after recovering from a less than stellar start. But I do think it's time, and it looks like we're going to go to the hards. We have not added the extra laps we need, the 3 to 4 laps to try the mediums. So it is going to be a pit to the hard compound. And as we are almost at that 30%, both attacking on their in lap without the ERS though, saving that. And of course we're giving up some really good track position here, but there's plenty of cars behind us that have not pit still and are going to drop back down. Okay, Alvin into the pits first. Lose a little less time here than we do compared to some other tracks. 2.56, wow. Excellent stop. And here comes Porsche. You can see we're already set for the next one. So no worries, both of them onto the hards. And we will only attack momentarily. We will go aggressive very soon as we don't want to push too long. But this does put us to the back. Hamilton into the pits. That's going to put him in last. He's going to swap the wing. He's going to lose a little more time. But eventually, you know, he's going to be coming hard and fast at us. Schumacher with a mistake. And Albin comes out. P14 ahead of Ricardo? Ooh. Okay. That was unexpected. Stroll is definitely well back. Has Stroll even pit yet? Yes, Stroll has pit. Who has not? Sainz, Verstappen, Ocon, Norris, Leclerc. All the way up to P5, Leclerc. Schumacher, Alonso, Stroll, and Vettel. So those two are going to be well behind if we're already ahead of them. Albin, so far ahead of the Aston Martins that even after his pit, he's still ahead of them now. Okay. So Stroll and Vettel on the mediums. In fact, this entire group is. But here comes Schumacher and Alonso. And were they on the mediums too? I mean, is everybody pitting that early off of their softer compounds? Shocking if that's the case. But Schumacher and Alonso are in. We'll see where they come out at. Albin already passing pit road. They are exiting pit road. Just ahead of us. Porsche just 8 seconds behind the Aston Martins. So by the time they do finally pit, he's going to be well ahead. Also 12 seconds ahead of Hamilton. His chances in this race are nothing. He'll probably catch Porsche and pass him, I would think, in over 20-something laps. All he needs is half a second per lap. He's going to be a lot faster than us than that. But his chances of getting even into the points today, unless there's a safety car, are 0. But Albin, running smooth, running strong, P14. And, you know, these two, if they do pit again, that's net P12. Ricardo behind is a threat. Magnussen, small threat. The others are not. Sonoda, if he messes it up, here we go. The other mediums guys into the pits. Let's see what they come out on. Does that mean Vettel and Stroll go this time? We've lost Alonso, it looks like. No, we still have DRS. But here comes Ricardo. Ricardo's got the inside. He does not pull out of it. But he does around the next... No, he's still side by side. This is not good for our pace either. Battling it out. Eventually Albin holds off Ricardo. And we're on lap 23, so the race is now more than half done. Sainz leads from Verstappen, and those two have very much pulled away as we have a yellow flag in Sector 1. And it is a crash, and it's one of those front runners, and it looks... Is that the safety car going to come out? DRS is disabled. Safety car starting. Safety car is starting. Where is... Albin is right here. Where is Porsche? Porsche is in the perfect position to get a free pit stop. Porsche and Hamilton pit, nobody else. Vettel had just put on his hards, so he had pit a lap or two before the safety car as the grid is now closing up. So Albin will be nice and close to the guys in front of him, running now P13, and Pourchaire is running P16 with fresh mediums. Magnussen, Ricardo just ahead. Now, how well he could pass them, I don't know, but we could easily hold off those two behind. But Hamilton with fresh softs. I don't know, 91%. That looks like they were used by a lap or two, and they're not going to have the easiest time getting to the end. 18 laps to go. And there's somebody in trouble. Is that Pourchaire? I think Pourchaire trying to get swarmed by both Aston Martins as he had a bit of a poor running out of the chicane, but he's allowed to close right up onto everybody there at turn 1, giving him a bit of a momentum boost. So actually that could have worked out well for him. He just held off the Aston Martins, and now he's got Magnussen to the inside through Eau Rouge and Radion, and he's got him, and now he's got a run on Ricardo as well. Fresh medium so far looking really good, but I think a lot of that came down to just he got that run. He got that nice run coming out of turn 1 as he closed up, and everybody else was slow through 1 because the field was backing up. But yes, you can see Hamilton still behind. 6 seconds, and he's on sauce. He'll catch up, but we've got a little cushion right now, and we're running 13 and 15, and here's Albin having a look on Schumacher. Schumacher's somebody I think we could probably take. So what can Albin do here? Plus our fuel situation is already fixed, so we're going to be good to go to the end of the race. Well, maybe not all the way. Pourchaire especially, 3.9. He'll be good. Albin at 2.7. May not be secure just yet, but continue using that overtake, see if we can't get Schumacher for P12. I think we're a little too far back to think about points, though.
Let's take another look.
Guan Yu Zhou coming through the final chicane, gets on the gas a little too early and spins out, and that's going to drop him right to the back of the grid, maybe P19 into the gap. Let's see if it's 19 or 20. Oh, sorry, 18 or 19. Yes, he does come out ahead of Hamilton. He had enough space there. But Guan Yu Zhou now out of contention, so we suddenly find ourselves in P12 and P14. But Albin loses Schumacher, so he's not getting the DRS benefit. So for that part, that's not good, as, you know, not sure if we're going to get back up into that DRS range and be able to hold that position terribly well. Verstappen and Sainz swapping positions at the top for the lead. Ten laps to go. Sainz back in the lead ahead of Verstappen. Those two still swapping. 7 seconds now to Russell, so you know you've got to fight for the podium behind, but absolutely those front two have gotten away. Leclerc still unable to get around these guys. He's got just Gasly now, though, really in front of him. Ocon, Bottas, Norris, and Alonso. Tsunoda and Schumacher make up the next group, but Albin 6 seconds behind. We've got Ricardo, Pourchaire, and now Magnussen, and then Vettel 8 seconds behind with Stroll, Guan Yu Zhou at the back of that group, and Hamilton a further 10 seconds back. Hamilton, I think it's pretty clear he's got additional damage to the car besides just that front wing, which I'm sure they replaced in the pit stop, as he's been well off the pace even after replacing the front wing. Zhou gets around Vettel. In fact, I think Stroll and Zhou both went around Vettel there. But that means our battle is for 12th to 15th. Right now we've got 12th and 14th. I think that's pretty good. We'll see if we can't get Ricardo before the end. But Ricardo is putting a lot of pressure on us right now. Okay, so Magnussen has gone around Pourchaire, and Guan Yu Zhou went around Vettel and Stroll, and then has now pulled away from them. So now there's a 2.5 second gap behind. So the two Aston Martins are stuck at 17, 18. Ocon runs wide. He is now in the gap. So Ocon has lost his train ahead, but he recovers quickly on the track, still well ahead of Albon. Albon tried to hold these guys off, and Pourchaire, at the back end of our train of 4. So we are on the outside. Oh, Pourchaire! Did you see that? Pourchaire to the inside of Magnussen. Magnussen blocks him off at the apex, and Pourchaire has to duck out of it and loses DRS entirely on this lap. So now he's going to be well behind. We are probably going to have to deploy a little bit here to make our way back forward and get back within DRS range of his teammate. And Ricardo gets around Albon as well, so ouch. So at the front of the grid, Sainz and Verstappen have been swapping places throughout this race, with Sainz mostly ahead. Verstappen will pass him, and a lap or less later, Sainz gets back by. So it's clear that the Ferrari is faster, but with DRS, Verstappen has just that slight speed advantage. But the moment he loses DRS, the Ferrari's quicker. Speaking of the quicker Ferrari, Leclerc has finally made his way through the field and all the way up into a podium place, third position, and is pulling away from Gasly. Russell has been double overtaken. He's dropped from 3rd to 5th. Bottas a ways behind in 6th. Alonso, and here goes Verstappen again to the front. We'll see how long that holds this time. But we are 6 seconds, so Albon's 6 seconds behind. So we're really not looking at gaining any positions unless there's another spin or somebody runs wide. If somebody runs wide, it would have to be one of these 3 guys just ahead of us, and even then we may not catch them like Ocon did. But slight chance, and either way, P12's great. But Ricardo right on our heels here, but we hold him off, and then Magnussen, Pourchaire at the back end. But Pourchaire's got that chance. He's got a real shot at getting up on these guys, and then Guan Yu Zhou is slowly closing the gap. He is faster. The Alfa Romeo is absolutely faster than the Williams, without a doubt. But at 4 seconds, with only a few laps to go, I don't think he's going to actually catch up in time, especially when we try to make our last couple lap push. Ricardo having a look. And then, the back 3 are way too slow. Look how much faster we are compared to the Aston Martin. We have driven away by quite a bit. I mean, we're a good 14 seconds up the road from him. We're going to have DRS. Is it enough? Come on, Albon. I don't think it is. He's driving away from us. He's absolutely driving away from us very quickly. Ricardo gets around Albon, and holding these 2 off and faster cars is difficult. It's very difficult. Oh, big lockup! And Pourchaire has wiped out Magnussen. Did you see that? Safety car. This race is going to finish under safety car.
It's a collision.
Let's go and see the replay of this one.
Now we see the Williams.
Pourchaire walks up and gets right into the back of Magnussen. He had closed right up on him, super tight, and just bam, and takes out. Collision. Looks like both cars. Pourchaire's out. Magnussen drives on. And that's going to be a P13 finish. Terminal tire damage, broke a wheel there. Suspension maybe going to need to be replaced after that one. That's going to bring the Aston Martins up to 16-17. Penalty for Pourchaire, but he's not finishing the race, so it's not going to matter. And then you actually should get credit for 19th if you are within, 5% or 5 laps, you do get credit for completing the race. You'd just be 19th, a couple laps down technically, but anyway, it looks like we're locked into that P13. Okay, everything finishes as is. P13. Hey, that's a good result for Alvin. It's our second best, right? I think we had a P14 was our best besides the one time we got into the points. It's a good day. And the underfloor absolutely shows its improvement. Our issue here was right through here. From turn 1 to, what is that, turn 3? The end of the long straight. Eau Rouge, Radeon through this long straight. We just did not have the pace. We just did not have the pace to really keep up. Even with DRS, we were losing ground on the other cars through the straight. And the little bit of the race where we didn't have DRS absolutely hurt. We still had a really good race though. I mean, we mostly kept up with these guys. And that's a good sign on a track that suits us more so. Fast turns were good. The long straight was bad. We know what we need to work on. That's going to do it for this episode though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.